My name's Gina LaBenz, and this is Anchor Moments with Gina LaBenz. Thank you so much for tuning on to this show, and I want to tell you, I am so excited about my special guest I have today, Leah Benson. Leah and I met years ago, probably back in about 2009, when I had a Girl Scout troop that had a special project, and their project was so special, they gave themselves a special Girl Scout name. They were the GS Gems, Girl Scout Girls, Empowering and Mentoring with Support. They made black and white human trafficking awareness earrings, and they worked on the prevention of sex trafficking of minors. And we had quite a run until the girls all grew up on me. But while we did, we met some of the most amazing people. And one person that I met, who's a very, very special friend, is Leah Benson. And Leah Benson used to be the executive director for Streetlight USA that helped girls who were sex trafficked ages 11 through 17. And now she had a new vision of the next step, and she is now part of a brand new nonprofit called CC's Hope Center, and it's helping girls ages 18 to 24. Is that correct, Leah?
That's correct.
Who've also experienced similar trauma. And so today I get a special day with Leah, because Leah's has had quite the journey, and she has full faith in God. And she's going to tell us about some of those very special anchor moments in her life that brought her to working on her purpose. So Leah, is there any more you can tell us about yourself, and where does your journey begin?
Well, you know, it's amazing how we start out as children, and we are so full of, we're going to conquer the world, right? We feel like we know everything, and no one can tell us because we're so adventurous. At least I was as a child, right? And so God was never necessarily in the forefront or the center of my thought process as a child.
Okay.
But it's amazing how through trials in life and what he brings us through, how he becomes suddenly visible, right?
Right.
And then that visibility comes with, I love your title, Anchor Moments, right? God moments, because it's when you realize those moments that he's really there. And those moments aren't always your easiest time.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And so, but when you can come out of that, you start to go, oh my gosh, there is a creator, and he is greater than us, and he is in control. But you know, sometimes as leaders in our communities, that's also a very difficult thing to do, which is to let go, right?
Correct.
Just like you say in your memo, let God, let go. Let go, let God.
Let go, let God.
Yeah.
The second chapter in my Anchor Moments
Yes,
book.
yes. See, I read it.
Yay!
It's awesome.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it just gives me a thrill when I do have someone not only buy my book, but read my book.
Yeah. It's very inspirational to hear the journey of how God touches us in our lives, right? It's amazing. When my dad was in government, he did not know that his closest friend would be the one that would be paid to assassinate him. And that then we would immediately come to a foreign country where it was just not something that we would have ever imagined, right? And so you struggle through a new culture, through learning the different ways of life, and you watch your parents go through the trauma of seeing people close to them killed because they're not telling you or telling people where you are, and just seeing your dad's heart break through the whole process. And then growing up to go, so who am I going to be? What is it that we're supposed to be doing in life, right? And so you go through life and you go through school and you wonder sometimes why you get through the things that you do. And it's amazing.
Because that was a lot to get through. To have your dad assassinated by a friend?
His best friend.
His best friend?
Yeah.
You know, that's exactly what happened to Jesus when Judas gave him the kiss of death.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah. It was
And sold
amazing.
him
It was
out.
only because my mom was born in Hawaii that we
Okay.
were able to come quickly, right? Because she was an American citizen. Otherwise, we would have not been able to come. My dad was, he's German and Castilian, but he was
Okay.
born in the Philippines, and so, it's really very different, right? So, again, did I know God was in the moment then? No, we were saved, but it's through His work that we were saved, right?
Wow.
And you don't realize that. And then, growing up, it was amazing because I had the heart my dad did. And he always said, why couldn't you be a boy? So I wouldn't worry about you, right? And it's like,
Oh.
but Dad, I have a heart for people, just like you do, right? And
Yes, you
so,
do.
yeah,
And I've seen it. She has an amazing heart. And what she does for women that have been so abused is just, it's amazing. She truly is a gift and uses her talents. And every talent that God has given you, you use every single piece.
He puts it there, right? It's amazing. It's just like when we moved to Arizona, my husband and I. There's a lot in my past, and a lot of journeys and a lot of moments, but to highlight some of the things that
Yeah.
really were trials in my life that mold who I am and has brought me closer to Christ, right? Was we moved to Arizona. I always imagined I had two boys, and I thought, I don't want to bring them up in a environment that is a subdivision, right? Because I grew up freely. I grew up running through the fields and looking for my dad and him cutting up pineapples for me right there and then and having those. And so I loved my childhood and what I remember of it, right? And so for my boys, I thought, gosh, two boys need a large place, right? And so it was amazing going through Arizona, finding the place. My husband goes, they'll never give us that house for that amount. And I went, you don't know until you ask. And I asked, and it was less than a third of the price, and they gave it to us.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. And so it was meant to be our house. But it was meant to be our house, and it was amazing because we tried to get it blessed several times before we moved in, and it just never happened. And my husband had a dream about a little Indian boy who had drowned, right? And I thought, really strange. It was right next to a canal, right? So I didn't know what that meant at all. And we moved into the house, and my son, on our first day, drowned in our pool.
Oh no.
Right.
Oh no.
And so it was amazing, though, because he woke up from a nap. He woke up and he said, Mommy, I'm home. And I thought, that's a strange thing for a kid to say.
How old was
Right?
he?
He was 2 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was a preemie. He was 2 pounds when he was born, right? And so it was amazing. And I had just said to my husband, I said, look at the look on his face before I went in. I said, he's got such a strange glow to his face, right? And I said, watch him. I'm going to go in and start cooking because we had tons of people in there.
Okay.
And before you know it, I saw running. And they were running into the house with his body because they just pulled him out of the pool.
Oh,
Right.
Leah.
And we had a gate. It was gated. There was a car against it. All the safeties, but it still happened. But I remember that moment when he said, Mommy, I'm home,
Oh.
right? He was home. So he's been my little angel,
Yeah.
in many ways. I remember going to a conference. It was a conference on missions, right,
Okay.
back east, and I kept going, gosh, why am I here? I don't want to be here. There's so much work back home to do, right? I opened the window, and right in front of me was his name, Weston Hotels. Weston was his name.
Was his name?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I said, okay, I know why I'm here,
Yeah.
right? And so he's been
And where
with me.
and where was that conference?
It was back east, right? It was in Ohio.
Okay.
And so there's just moments, there's God moments that he brings them back to me.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be, and it's amazing because I've been involved in projects and people say, well, why don't you have a lake there, right? And it's amazing how God brings people into your life that you don't realize. I was sitting there with a man, because I'm in the management consulting business, and he says to me, well, you're creating this park, but there's no lake. There's no, why is that? And I didn't say anything to him. I didn't know this guy. He was a stranger. And he just, he looked in my soul. He looked in my soul. And he says, that's what parents need, is to be with their children. And I thought, okay. And he says, why is this so painful for you? And I'm going, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Right? Why is he saying these things to me?
Right.
Like, I was so angry. After that meeting, I called my husband and I said, I don't know who this guy is, but how dare he say these things that are so hurtful, right? But they're hurtful, and God put them in my life because I needed healing in that area. But we don't realize those things as we move forward. And so it's amazing when they say doors closed but new doors open.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so I don't know what happened at that point. God still hasn't revealed why to me, but I soaked myself 100% in nonprofits, probably because there's so much need.
Oh, there's so much need.
Yeah, and there's so much need in this world. And when we think about we don't have enough, but we look at other people and we go, we have more than they do. Being humble to what we have is so important.
That is so true. So true.
There are people who have so much less than we do. And so I felt a calling to that, and I felt that that was my new journey. And so one day, it was amazing. I was working with an organization called AIFD. They work with Islamic reform.
Okay.
And I was his director of ops. And so at that time, I got a call from Streetlight and its board members. And actually, to turn the clock back a little bit, I was actually working on getting out of ministry because I thought, I need to get out of ministry. I'm the eldest. I've got to take care of my parents. I've got a sick husband. I've got to dive into the for-profit world and invested in my company, getting ready to go national, right?
Wow.
But I was Jonah, and God said, no, that's not where you're going. I didn't create you for the corporate world. I created you for ministry, right? And so I thought, So my son comes home, and he says, Mom, have you heard of this organization, Streetlight? And I said, no. And he said, I would give up all of my time with you if you would just take this on and do. They need you. And I thought, no, I can't do that. You guys are the ones telling me I have no time for my family because I'm always in ministry. And, being in ministry, there's a lot of sacrifices that your family has to give.
Right.
Right? You're not there all the time because you're helping others. And so I said to him, no, I can't do it. Well, then his girlfriend comes to the house and says, Ms. Benson, has Justin told you about Streetlight? And I said, no. Just a little bit. I said, but I really don't have any more time for ministry work. And she says, well, I really think you need to take a look at it. That's
his girlfriend?
That's his girlfriend. She's a justice major too, though, right?
Wow.
Yeah, and so then the next thing was I went to church. I was an elder at my church.
Okay.
And so I get there, and Streetlight is there.
At your church?
At my church.
So, and you didn't even know they were going to be there?
I did not know that they were going to be there.
Sounds like an anchor moment to me.
Yeah. And so the gentleman that was there said, come learn about Streetlight. I said, no, thank you. I will donate to you guys. You guys have a great cause, but just don't have the time.
Yes.
So right after that, I get a call from someone at a university saying, we're going to work on this project. We're so excited, and we want you to be part of it. So I walk into that meeting, and he was the board member, the board chair. And he says to me, or I'm sorry, it was the she was the community relations person for the university, and she says to me, "I would love for you to work on this project with me." And I said, "Well, what project is that?" And she says, "Streetlight." And I said,
Wow.
"You have been
again.
talking to my son." And she goes, "Leah, I've not talked to your son." About that time, the phone rings, and it was the chairman of the board.
At that exact
Time.
timing, at that exact
Yes.
moment.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, you just had anchor moments like constantly
Constantly
about Streetlight.
about Streetlight.
Coming from all different directions.
All different directions.
And those different directions weren't talking to each other.
No.
But it just, wow.
Yeah.
You know, I think with God, you know, we have free will, and you can say no to God all the time. But God knew this would be really good for you. And it's so cool that he found all these different venues and different people to speak to you about it.
Yeah. Well, it didn't stop there because I was in denial, right?
Oh
It
my
was
gosh,
like,
you were still in denial.
oh yeah. It was like, no, nope,
Wow.
nope.
Okay.
I am focused. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start my corporate business and
Uh-huh.
launch it again, and I'm going to be fine. And so, Faith is on the phone, and then John calls, and she starts laughing. She goes, "Well, she's actually sitting right here, so why don't I just put you on speaker, right?" So he was
Wow.
calling to discuss that my name was given to him. And so it was amazing, and we met, and I said, "I can't come to help you guys, but I'll volunteer my hours.
There you go.
Those are my time, and I will volunteer those hours." So I did. And I volunteered for about 6 months. And then I was in Washington, got a call, and it was John, and he says, "We need you on board." And I said, "You know, my answer is no. I can't do it." And he says, "I'm not taking no for an answer. I want you to pray about it. We've already talked about it, and we'll talk when you get back." Right? So, of course, my heart is soft for nonprofits.
Yeah.
And I ended up saying, all right, just 2 days out of the week, right? Just 2 days.
Okay.
2 days ended up being 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, you were every day of the week.
Yeah.
You were always on call.
And so, you know, diving into Streetlight, again, not only was the process a God moment for me, it took my family sitting down and my husband saying, "You need to do this. This is your next step. This is your calling." And I said, "So I'm going to shut down the business. I just spent thousands of dollars." And he goes, "Yes, you are, because this is what you need to do." Right?
Wow.
And I said, "You know, there's no compensation for this." And he says, "We'll make it. We'll make it." Right. So
Wow.
closed down my consulting business, what I was doing, out of faith, and just
Wow.
jumped in all feet.
Oh, total all feet. See, this is all a new story to me. I only met Leah after she was already all in, so I didn't even know any of the background story. Wow.
And you know, it's amazing because, you know, I have all boys. I have no
Yes.
girls. And I had always prayed for a little girl. And so my husband says, "Here you go."
You got a bunch of little girls.
Yes. So
A ton of 'em.
watch what you pray for. Because I didn't tell God how many I wanted. I didn't tell him how old I wanted them. But he did grant my wish, right? And I couldn't be a happier person because the girls now, it was very difficult. I intaked over 1,000 girls personally.
Wow. I mean, she had 1,000 girls. That's a lot of daughters.
It is a lot of daughters.
And that's exactly how she's treated them. And I've met a lot of the girls who lived in Streetlight, and they love her. She was their second mom,
Yeah.
and their favorite mom,
Yeah.
probably for a lot of them,
Yeah.
because a lot of them came out of abusive situations.
It's amazing when you hear the stories of the girls. Just so sad. And one of the girls, I remember when the Super Bowl was here and I was getting ready to go on TV on Al Jazeera. One of the little girls came up to me and, you know, Harry Potter, right?
Yeah.
The big glasses?
Yeah.
Well, she was a female Harry Potter. And so I'm sitting next to my board member and we're talking about me getting ready to go on TV. And this little girl just runs past me and then stops and then comes back and she says, "Do you want to read my poem?" And it was such a sad poem, such a sad poem that literally it tore my heart. And I told my board member, "You're going to have to go on TV. I can't do it after reading this story," right? This little girl, she was 10 years old when her dad sexually abused her in her own bedroom, right?
And that should be your safe place.
That should be your safe place. And then
And that should be your safe person. You shouldn't be any safer than being with your dad.
Yeah. And then he had 7 of his friends sexually abuse her.
Oh,
Once he finished with that, he started to sell her, right?
yeah.
It's
That's heartbreaking.
how can you sell your own daughter? How can you look at that innocent face,
Yeah.
an innocent child, and do that to her, and have your friends do that to her, and then sell her to other people to do the same thing? I just can't imagine,
Yeah.
right? She was so broken that any time she got in the van, any moment she had that she could run out and lay herself on the ground, she did. She just wanted to die, right?
Oh.
So these are the daughters that was given to me by God. And so when we look at their journeys, every single one of their stories is so different, so different. But when we talk about anchor moments, those anchor moments come back when they call after they've been gone 5, 6, 7 years, and they're fine,
Wow.
right? I had one call me out of the blue, and she said to me, "I don't want to do this anymore." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she had left. She left in a good way.
Okay.
And she graduated out of high school, and she was in fraud investigation, was what she was doing.
Yeah.
And so when she said, "I don't want to do this anymore," my heart dropped. And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "I don't want to do this anymore." And I said, "What are you going to do?" And, you know, scared that she was going to say, "I'm going to go back into the life." And she said, "I don't want to do fraud investigation anymore." And I said, "So what do you want to do?" And she said, "I want to be a teacher." Right?
Oh.
How awesome was that to hear?
That is so awesome.
Right? "I want to be a teacher." And I said, "Why don't you go be a teacher?" And she says, "Because it doesn't make a lot of money." And I said, "Go be a teacher. You can do fraud investigation on holidays, during the summer times. Go be a teacher," right? And that's the last I heard of her. But these girls call me throughout the years. They'll just pop in and out. And the next one that I heard from was she was having a baby. Her mom called me and said, "We're naming her after you." Right?
Oh, that is so
Yeah.
sweet.
And so now
How
they send
special.
me, now they send me pictures of the little girl.
Aw.
And so they spell her name differently, but her mom and and she just says, "You took my child on as if she was yours." And I said, "She was."
Right.
Right? She was. That's the love that
Right.
we're supposed to give to others.
And now you are dealing with the saddest situations, but it still brings joy to your heart. Can you explain that? I understand that joy, but can you explain that for a second to our watchers?
You know, it's amazing, Gina. I think I got that from my mom. You know, she was, she has her master's in teaching, right?
Okay.
And when we left the Philippines, when we came here, gosh, it was in the 70s when she brought our family together and she said, "I can't be a teacher anymore." And we said, "Why?" And she said, "The discipline is just very different here," right? And so she quit teaching and she went to become a housekeeper at the hospital in the children's ward, right? And so I remember picking her up with my dad, and she would say, "See that child? that child's going to die in about a month. And I would cry. It was like, Mom, how can you do this? And she says, I get to bring joy in his life, right? For the month that he's here. I get to love him. And so I thought, wow, what a great way to think about that.
Yes.
Right? So it shifted my mindset to look at those moments and go, they're not all bad.
Exactly. Exactly. And when you share and you do something for somebody else, the joy comes back to you.
Yes.
It just does. And we just have 2 minutes left of our show. And I always like to end the show with a prayer. And I'm going to invite Leah back on a future show. So in a couple of months, be looking back again. And because I know Leah has even more stories to share with us. And I'd like to do a quick prayer right now for all 1,000 girls that have come through Streetlight and that are going through Cece's Hope Center, which if anyone does buy my book, Anchor Moments, Hope, Healing, and Forgiveness, I donate $1 from every book to Cece's Hope Center, even the Kindle version, as well as the paperback. But let's do a quick prayer together. Can I hold your hand?
Yes.
Jesus, please help all girls, the 1,000 girls that Leah has met, the girl Sunshine that I met at San Marcos, who asked me to wear a little bit of red in honor of girls who've been sex trafficked, and to anyone out in our viewing audience who's experienced any kind of sexual trauma. Please help heal their hearts. Please send people to them to be angels. And please call us to be angels to everyone we see who needs someone to smile at them and to love them and to tell them that they are enough. And they are never alone. They are your children, children of God, and that we are all connected, and that when we reach out and help each other, we get to have the joy of being the hands and feet of Christ.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you so much for being with us today,
you.
Leah.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for tuning in.
The preceding program was brought to you by the Holy Spirit Broadcasting Network, HSBN Television.